All right, so today we are going to watch a segment here that aired on one of TYT's live shows that they recently did of Cenk Uygur and Ben Gleib getting into an extremely heated argument about Israel and Palestine. And I made a video really quick before we watch the clip. I made a video on October 11th, saying that the Young Turks was allowing Ben Gleib to do pro-Israel propaganda on their program, and there was a lot of pushback, even from my own viewers, about this video that I made because a lot of people were saying that I wasn't framing the issue in a genuine way. Here's the video right here. The Young Turks decided to do pro-Israel propaganda, denies apartheid exists, which is literally what he does. And a lot of people were like, hey, man, Cenk pushed back pretty hard. So, but the focus of the video was trying to be that Ben was he was doing pro-Israel propaganda. It didn't matter that Cenk was pushing back. It's still a problem. And it seems as though, I don't know exactly when this discussion took place. I'm not sure on the exact day. But it seems as though a lot of people have come to their senses and decided that, yeah, that's exactly what Ben Gleib is doing. He's doing fucking shitty, horrible pro-Israel propaganda on the Young Turks main platform. So without further ado, here is the clip of Cenk and Ben getting into, I would say, maybe the most heated exchange I've ever seen on TYT.
New, pretty harsh pushback in Israel this morning after Secretary of State Antony Blinken's call for a separate Palestinian state. Blinken explained this was key to ensuring regional support for Israel's security and Iran's isolation. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pretty much flat out rejected that idea.
The state of Israel must control the security of all the land which is west of the Jordan River. That is a truth that I'm saying to our friends, the Americans. And I've also blocked an attempt to force upon us a reality which will hurt the security of Israel. The Prime Minister in Israel must be able to say no, even to the closest of our friends.
That's Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu forcefully rejecting the Biden administration's push for a two-state solution following the end of this war, whenever that will be.
He says following the end of this war, whenever that may be, and it's, I'm trying not to, I'm going to pause the clip a lot, but you can tell even from just the first sentence that he says, whenever that may be, there is one side that literally holds all of the power. Okay, they're the ones that can decide, hey, you want to know what? We can end this right now. We can do this. And that's Israel, bro. That's Israel. You say whenever that may be, but he won't push for a two-state solution. It's ridiculous. It's just horrible. Again, as the clip goes on, you'll understand more of what I'm talking about.
The U.S. is saying, however, that that is not the final word, citing that they've been able to change previous hardline positions from the Netanyahu government even during this war. The tense back and forth reflected what has become a wide rift between the two allies over the scope of Israel's war and its plans for the future of the beleaguered territory. We obviously see it different, White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said. Netanyahu spoke just a day after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Israel would never have genuine security without a pathway toward Palestinian independence. Earlier this week, the White House announced that this was the right time for Israel to lower the intensity of its devastating military offensive in Gaza. In a nationally televised news conference, Netanyahu struck a defiant tone, repeatedly saying Israel would not halt its offensive until it realizes its goals of destroying Gaza's Hamas militant group and bringing home all remaining hostages held by Hamas. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister said the kingdom is ready to establish full relations with Israel as part of a larger political agreement. Quote, but that can only happen through peace for the Palestinians, through a Palestinian state, he said. More on the story in a minute, but I'd like to check in and get your initial thoughts, Cenk.
Yeah. So first on Netanyahu, I was led to believe that from the river to the sea was a genocidal phrase. In fact, I've condemned that phrase. I condemned it when Palestinians use it. I'm now going to condemn it when apparently the terrorist Netanyahu uses it, saying that he's going to do a genocide and ethnic cleansing from the river to the sea. That's my understanding of the phrase, from the river to the sea. You just heard it with your own eyes and your own ears. You heard him, okay, and you saw him. So now it's not just him. Ben-Gvir, the national security minister, says that they're going to drive the Gazans out. Now it all makes sense, actually. Why did they start in the north? What led them to believe that there was more Hamas in the north? And what I said on the first day, which is, why wouldn't they just go to the south? They've got tunnels. They just go. So what's the point of destroying the north? You destroy the north first, you push them into the south. Now they're destroying the south. They haven't slowed down at all. Biden asked them to slow down. Biden's the weakest man in the world. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So now their new plan is, drive them into the Sinai Desert. And now he's making it clear. And he says, two-state solution, no way. And so there'll be no Palestinian state. That's not a partner for peace. That's not an ally. He says we get to say no. That's true. They're an independent country. They can say anything they like, right? We also get to say no. It's unconscionable to send them any money. $3.8 billion so that you could do genocide and ethnic cleansing?
And something that I think that a lot of people really don't understand, and when you say it out loud, some people will push back on it. The apartheid regime of Israel negatively impacts the Palestinians and the Jews that live there. So again, it's way more disproportionate for Palestinians than it is, the Israelis, but it does negatively impact everybody. If Netanyahu really cared, if he was really someone who gave a shit about his people, then he would be pushing for a two-state solution. That's the only answer. That's the only way. That is the only way that this conflict, if that's what you want to call it, can come to an end. The only way, and he doesn't give a shit. Netanyahu does not give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck about the Jews. He doesn't give a fuck about the Palestinians. He doesn't give a shit about any of it, okay?
No, hell no. I mean, look, if they start driving them into the desert, I'm considering stopping paying taxes. I don't want my money going to ethnically cleanse people. What? Well, I thought we said never again. What is this? Total, utter monster, okay? It's unconscionable to send them any money. None, 0, 0, 0. But look at the pathetic Joe Biden. He's, we're still trying to convince him. What, but by asking pretty please? Is that your strategy? That's the strategy you use with Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin slapped him around like this. And now Netanyahu's slapping him around. Anybody can slap, I'll slap Biden around. You loser. You're at 33%. You're gonna lose to Trump too. Watch when he starts to slap you around. I don't want that to happen. But the guy's the weakest person in America. So what are you gonna do? He just told you, I'm not gonna do a goddamn thing you say. I'm not gonna do the two-state solution, and I'm gonna drive into the desert. Now what are you gonna do, Joe? And Joe's like, pretty please, pretty please. Shut up, do something, do something. Are you the president of the United States or are you not? This is ridiculous. So there's no defense for any of this. But we'll continue, we won't do anything. We won't do anything to oppose Netanyahu. I don't know what happens when they actually, look, the United Nations says the starvation has begun.
Yeah.
85% of Gazans are already displaced, homeless.
Yeah, 100% correct.
And now 25% of them are starving. That's 500,000 people. So
America, and Cenk is right pretty much with everything that he just said there. We're never going to do anything. The U.S. has always unabashedly backed Israel. Every single president pretty much has unabashedly backed Israel 100% of the time, no matter what. So this isn't surprising, but it is, like Cenk said, absolutely disgusting and horrible.
America has blood all over its hands. It's because of Joe Biden. It's because of all the politicians in Washington. But now 60 have sent a letter, 60 Democrats saying, oh, come on, Jesus, are we really gonna support the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians led by Jamie Raskin and Ayanna Pressley? Bless their hearts, at least there's a pulse there, but the rest is unconscionable. Ramesh.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't agree more with many of the things you just said there, Cenk, but I think, first and foremost, I just want to express how sort of powerless I feel outside of attending protests and sharing my voice about this disastrous situation and the sanctity and sacredness of all life, including our brothers and sisters in Gaza right now and our brothers and sisters in the West Bank who are also being terrorized through a settler colonial project that has existed for 80 plus years. I think the question is if you kind of look around the world at different countries, the vast majority of countries around the world, the vast majority of Americans, believe it or not, just the vast majority of all of us want this to end, want a ceasefire now. But if you look at how popular that opinion is versus who actually has the actual leverage to stop this, it's just one person. I mean, it's really just one administration from all I could glean, which is President Biden and our government. I mean, we are enabling and are complicit in this situation right now. And you can't say you want a two-state solution when you unconditionally back a genocide occurring to the poor Gazan people, and you're not doing anything about it. So actions speak louder than words, right? I mean, I'm not talking about, I totally understand the illegitimacy on certain levels of Hamas, but I'm wondering what a vision, I just want to ask that question, and Ben, I want to hear your thoughts on this. What is Biden's vision of a two-state solution? Like, what vision is there that any of us could have of a two-state solution when one part of the two states has been utterly destroyed, all its people increasingly are being displaced, and well over 10,000 children have been murdered? You know,
I can't even, guys. There is so many great, pieces of content and just things that I have seen that very, very explicitly show what the IDF and what Israel has done to Gaza. They have completely fucking, at least for the most part, leveled Gaza. They have destroyed that fucking country, okay? I can't show that shit on YouTube. I can't fucking show it. YouTube likes to take action against my videos, I think sometimes unfairly, but it is unimaginable what is going on over there right now. It's horrible.
Or killed, whether it's self-defense or not. I don't think it's self-defense. It's deeply disproportionate. So it's sort of like if it's our country and our leadership that has the only leverage to end this, why is it that they're so insistent on continuing to unconditionally support this genocide, yet state they want a two-state vision? So it's sort of like I have to question whether they want a two-state vision, and if so, what would that look like?
I'd be happy to answer that. Please. There's so many things I disagree with that both of you said. Good. That I would love to address all of them. First of all, Ramesh, you just said you understand in certain ways the illegitimacy of Hamas. They're a terrorist organization that rapes people as a matter of public policy and as the way to resist and get the change they want. Rape and shoot nails into the vaginas of women and take women and babies and children hostages and still holds them hostage. So
sure, I'll respond to that.
Sure. So in some ways you see the illegitimacy. I would say in every damn way possible you should see the illegitimacy. You both called it a genocide. It is not a genocide.
I don't even need to play. I'm going to play the rest of it, but you don't even need to hear the rest of it. It's not a genocide. Why is it not a genocide, Ben? Why the fuck is it not a genocide? Because it didn't happen overnight? Because they couldn't fucking kill every single 2.1 million Palestinians overnight? A genocide can't happen overnight, Ben. That's not how it fucking works. It's not a genocide. Then what the fuck is it? What would you define it as? The 9,000 children that have been killed? I have trouble getting actual numbers of Palestinians that have been killed. I try to look at, human rights groups numbers that they pull out, but there's a lot of just mis and disinformation out there, and I don't want to say anything that's wrong, but the 9,000 children that have been killed, what if it's not a fucking genocide, then what the fuck is it? What the fuck would you call it, Ben? I guarantee you, this motherfucker would not sit in front of the faces of Palestinians. Oh my God, guys, I don't even know if I posted it or not. CNN did this amazing, I think it was Clarissa Ward, I can't remember who it was. They did this amazing piece of this hospital in Gaza, this little kid, I think he was 2 or 3 years old, his fucking parents, his whole family got murdered, and he thought one of the doctors in the hospital was his dad because he was recovering from injuries, and he's also not old enough to know any better. I guarantee you, this slimy ass fuck would not step into that hospital or get in front of Palestinian people and say this fucking horse shit. I guarantee you he wouldn't have the balls to do it.
the International Criminal Court will decide officially whether they think it is or not. It's a sham accusation. It's ridiculous because it is Israel defending itself. I was just
Fucking dude. No, it's not Israel defending itself. 9,000 children being killed is Israel defending itself? They are indiscriminately just bombing anything that they see, any building, anything in Gaza. They are just they have leveled that fucking country. There's one hospital left. And he says it's an accusation. It's not an accusation. It's a fucking fact.
I got back yesterday from Israel. I was there for 10 days. During the 10 days that I was there were approximately 100.
Cool, bro. Did you go to Gaza? No, he didn't go to Gaza. He admits that he didn't go to Gaza. Did you go to Gaza? No, he was in Israel. Yeah.
And 70 missiles launched at Israel. There were 9 on-the-ground terrorist attacks. There were Israelis murdered in the streets while I was there. There were rockets that hit Tel Aviv near where I was. I didn't have to seek shelter because it wasn't the exact part of Tel Aviv I was in, but friends of mine did. If you are at the mercy of a terrorist organization...
At the mercy?
You mean the IDF?
Yeah, you mean the IDF? You mean the IDF? Is that what you're talking about? Because that's exactly what the fuck they are. And again, Ben just acts like there is nothing, zero things that preceded October 7th. There was nothing wrong. The IDF has always been horrible. Before October 7th, before everything that's going on right now, they have always been fucking terrible. It's not a secret. It's not something that people don't know about. You can go back and look at the heinous shit that the IDF has done before this. But I mean, like, if we don't want to live in reality and, we just want to make shit up and act like, the ongoing genocide isn't real and it's not a real problem, then you know what, I guess if Ben wants to live in fucking fairy tale land, he's more than fucking welcome to do that, I guess. It's just, I cannot believe that they allow this shit on their platform. And we haven't even got to the part where Cenk gets really upset, which I think is rightfully so. There was a lot of people saying, that Cenk getting upset was ridiculous, but I mean, this is an emotional thing to talk about, okay?
No, I do not mean the IDF as a terrorist organization. The IDF is defending itself against these genocidal monsters that are Hamas, and it's well documented, and everybody.
Then why can Ben explain the extreme disproportionate amount of Palestinians that have been murdered versus Israelis? The 9,000 children that have been murdered? I guess they're Hamas, right? I guess Ben thinks that these little children are Hamas. I don't even know what the fucking number is, but the amount of people in Gaza that are extremely young is so high. Like, I mean, not adults. Like, teenagers and children. It's extremely high. The population in Gaza, I'm just going to fucking look it up. I'm going to look up what percentage of the people in Gaza, because I don't have the number pulled up and I don't want to tell you guys something wrong. I don't know what the number is, but how is he going to have, what is his response to, again, the 9,000 children, and then on top of that, the 20-something thousand, I don't know the exact number. I don't want to give an exact number because I don't want to spread any mis or disinformation. What is his response to that? The extreme disproportionate amount of Palestinians that have been murdered versus Israelis. Is there a response for that? No, there's not. Let me pull this up here. It's an extremely high number. Okay, so children literally make up, it's literally almost 50%. 47% of the people in Gaza, the 2.3 million people there, 47% of them are fucking children. So, Ben, do you have an answer for that? Do you have an exclamation for that? The IDF is defending itself against children? Fucking liar. This is so disgusting and horrible.
Understands that it's an incredibly difficult situation with an incredibly unique set of circumstances of how densely populated it is, how monstrous Hamas is by using...
Yeah, dude. Yeah, how densely populated it is. I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows how densely populated Gaza is. The Gaza Strip is so goddamn small, and the amount of people in it is so astronomical. That what he said is a complete understatement. You can't even put it into words how small Gaza is and the amount of people that are in it. You literally, I don't think you can, at least. I know that, like, they have numbers of, like, square mileage and whatever. I'm not a numbers guy. Numbers are just, like, in one ear, out the other, whatever. Horrible.
Their own people as human shields by putting all of... We're still using that because it's a fact, Cenk.
Fact.
What you're still using is genocide and ethnic cleansing, neither of which make any sense or hold the muster of fact.
It's absurd.
It is not ethnic cleansing because if you've ever been to Israel, have you been to Israel?
Why would I go to a barbarous country that imprisons 5 million Palestinians and never lets them go and brutalizes them, murders them at every turn? Why would I go to that country? Are you insane? No one go to Israel. You should never go to Israel until they end the occupation, and then we love them and we go back.
It's an incredible nation, and it's the only democracy in the Middle East that
democracy.
That's so bullshit.
You all the time use that as the example of why they should be held to a different standard than Hamas. You talk out of both sides of your mouth on this issue constantly. You say they're a democracy, so that's why they have to be held to a different standard. Then I call them a democracy, and you laugh mockingly at the only democracy that is our allies in that region. It's so ridiculous and egregious.
No, what's ridiculous and egregious is the fact that Ben is unable to accept that the reason Hamas was democratically elected by the people in Gaza, okay? But and it was not by a lot of people, okay? But what's egregious and disgusting and horrible is the fact that Ben is not willing to accept that it is literally Israel's apartheid regime that has created an organization like Hamas. Okay, would it exist? Would Hamas as it was or as it is would Hamas exist if the apartheid regime of Israel didn't exist? This is not hard. This is not a hard issue. It's just like Michael Brooks said. This isn't hard. It's not hard. But Ben is making it complicated because he's saying, this, that, and the other, and it's just all bullshit.
And despite all of the evidence shown and all of the tactics that the IDF takes under the advisement of what it needs to do to try to attain its objectives militarily, it does
obtain its objectives militarily, murdering 9,000 children. Okay.
A litany of things that no other nation does. It's an average of 2.5 civilians killed to military combatants compared to a typical ratio of other wars that is much higher compared to American wars that's 10 to 1, 12 to 1. Yet those numbers do not bother you. You say
what
that
do you mean they don't bother me? I did a decade of shows against that.
Those numbers don't affect your opinion of what's going on now, I meant to say.
I don't know. I don't have these numbers pulled up, which I probably should have pulled them up before I started filming. But I don't know if those numbers are right or not. They don't sound right to me, but that I don't know. But that just I don't know about that.
And you then also
could be wrong.
Just make up that they're clearly trying to get the Gazan people into Egypt and displace them when that is not true. There have been some insane statements from some elements in the Israeli government that are not the official position of the government. That is not what the statement of Netanyahu
said from the river to the sea.
Bro, you just had Netanyahu out there. You introduced the fucking clip. You just heard what he said. IDF spokespeople routinely, literally just admit that they are doing ethnic cleansing. It's not the official position of the government. Then what the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about? Yes, the fuck it is.
He said from the river to the sea, they need to have control of their security. What are you talking about?
That's exactly what the Palestinians say. When we say from the river to the sea, they say it's political. But when it's a Muslim,
exactly not
genocide. No, they didn't actually do it. When it's Israel, when they're actually doing the genocide. No. From the river to the sea, as they're in the middle of the genocide. genocide.
That is
You
such
think, no
an
big deal,
ignorant
no big deal.
statement. That is such an ignorant statement. When the Palestinians say from the river to the sea, they literally are saying without Jews and Israelis living there
How
and
do you
pushing
know
them
what
into
they're
the
saying?
sea. Because
Where's
that,
this monster
because
is
that,
actually killing
because
them,
that's,
butchering
because
them.
that's why you've condemned the statement.
You got a theoretical
No,
statement on one side, and on the other
so
side
why
you're
did you
actually
condemn
butchering.
it? So why did you condemn the statement? Because you know that's what it means. That's why you condemned
Then
it.
why don't you condemn Netanyahu, that monster who just said
Because
from the river
he's
to the
not
sea?
saying that they need to
Oh,
displace
get out
the
of here,
Palestinians.
Ben. You're the most biased man in America.
I do condemn
so
Netanyahu.
the Muslims can't say it, but the Israelis can say it all day long.
Yeah, no, Jenk's exactly right. He's exactly right. That's exactly what the fuck Ben just did.
As they do it. As they do it. They're murdering Palestinians as we speak.
They need to disavow a fundamentalist belief that wants to kill all Jews as a disease and not allow them to live. That might not bother you, but it does bother me as an Israeli Jew.
That's such a weak excuse. I'll tell you why.
My people,
yes,
please tell me.
yes, I'll tell you why.
Please.
Because you always hide, like as if Israel's a tiny little country.
It is.
And they're so
A tiny little
defenseless.
country.
They're so, oh my God, they can't do anything against the all-powerful Palestinians who they imprison and take away their water, power, electricity, murder them at all terms, etc. No. If someone was actually trying to kill the Jews, Ben, I would line up in the front line with you. Are you crazy?
They just did that on October 7th.
Exactly. So you go and
they
we
just
talked
did it
about
while
how
I was there. They just killed a bunch of people.
So why don't you care about Palestinian lives, Ben?
Of course I do.
24,000
Of course I
dead,
do.
10,000.
He says, "Of course I do. Of course I care about Palestinian lives, but it's the IDF that's defending itself. You cannot say both. You cannot fucking say both. You can't. You can't have it both ways, Ben. You fucking can't. That is the biggest load of fucking horse shit that I have ever heard. God damn.
Of course
you
I
don't care about them. You don't care about them at all.
Cenk, you can shout all you like, but you are the one condemning them to murder. So why don't you care about their lives?
Condemning them to murder?
You're condemning them to a never-ending cycle.
Poor
no,
Israel
Palestinians.
Is being made to kill them.
Palestinians. You are condemning Palestinians to murder. Because every time I suggest that you put any pressure or the world puts any pressure on Hamas to stop, you say they're terrorists. You can't ever tell them to stop, so you can only tell Israel to stop, which, as you know, for a goddamn fact, means that this war will end, Hamas will regroup, they will kill more Israelis, and Israel will kill more Palestinians. And that's what you want. That's what you're advocating for.
Insane, Ben.
That's exactly what you're
I
advocating
want a two-state solution.
Oh,
you
man.
actually have peace.
So do I.
But not Netanyahu.
That's bull.
A monster.
That's a horrible statement he makes, and that should not be the position.
Terrorist, right?
But you add, no, not terrorist.
Of course he's a terrorist. He just said from the river to the sea, and he's actually doing it.
He said
he's
for 20
times the terrorist than
I
Hamas
will be
is.
with you if he actually encourages.
He's doing it,
the
Ben. What more do you need? 48,000?
Not one person's been displaced out of Gaza.
Are
not
you
one.
insane?
Out of Gaza.
I don't know. I don't know. If I was Cenk, I would have kicked this motherfucker out of the studio. He would have been gone right then and there. Said, nope. If you have to, cut the fucking cameras off. This motherfucker would have been out the fucking door. Not one person has been displaced. Are you fucking do you just live in just fucking your own world? This is just straight Zionism. I mean, oh my God, dude. I can't believe that he just said that. Ben calls himself a comedian, though. Apparently, he's a comedian, which, I don't know if I could classify him as a comedian, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Gaza, not
out
one.
of Gaza,
not
sorry.
one.
It's squished into
But
a
that's
little
what you're
corner where
saying
they're
he's
being
doing.
bombed.
That's what you're saying he's doing. Why doesn't Egypt allow any refugees? Why doesn't...
Because that's the displacement.
No,
that's literally what it is.
Voluntary displacement, like happens in every war. At the beginning of the
voluntary. Did you just say that was a voluntary displacement?
What was? No, if the possibility of going into Egypt would be voluntary, like in the first month of the Ukraine-Russia war, 5.9 million people were allowed in, but for some reason, the Gazan people's neighbors, their fellow Muslims, don't allow them in. Not one person. They condemn them to death.
That's the ethnic cleansing when you drive them from their homes.
During war, temporary displacement.
One thing. So Ben, you and I agree that we have no support of, or we agree that the Netanyahu government is extremist and is disproportionately violent. Do you agree with that?
I agree they are extremists, and I agree they are not a partner for peace.
So you can't. Why can he not just admit it? Ramesh just worded that perfectly. Perfectly. He straight up said. He literally straight up was like, "Yo, Netanyahu is. Can you agree with the fact that Netanyahu and the IDF and the Israeli apartheid regime is disproportionately violent against Palestinians versus the other way around?" And he can't. He won't concede on that point. Why won't he concede on that point? Because he's a fucking Zionist. He's a fucking goddamn Zionist. He's doing the shittiest of the shittiest pro-Israeli propaganda that I've ever seen. I can't fucking believe. I'm glad that they're pushing back. I don't want anyone to think that I'm like, oh, they're just letting him say whatever he wants. No, Cenk and Ramesh are doing a great job pushing back, but I don't want to see this guy on the show anymore. I've had a lot of problems with TYT. Certain controversies here and there, but after some comments that Anna Kasparian made, I haven't been watching them a lot. They made the original Ben Gleib video on October 11th. That's when I uploaded my video, and I was like, this is really bad. This is so much worse. It's so much worse now. I don't know why the fuck they keep inviting him back.
I do not agree they're disproportionately.
Okay,
I agree with that.
No, let's.
But proportion is not a standard used in war. You try to win a war.
No, it's
yes, the fuck it is, bro. What is he talking? I don't know how anyone can take this fucking clown seriously. If he really is a comedian, which I've never seen him do any stand-up. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I'm sure that he probably has. I don't know what kind of comedian he is, but maybe he should just stick to telling jokes and not fucking talk about politics, because this shit is just horrible.
It's what war crimes are all about. That
no, it is not. It's about appropriate.
I'm curious how there can be a future.
Appropriate actions is not murdering 9,000 fucking children. That's not appropriate ever. Do I need to say that out loud to this grown-ass fucking man? That 9,000 children being murdered is not appropriate? Do I need to say that out loud to one of the main contributor on the Young Turks? Really? Really?
Government that has absolutely no interest in a two-state solution.
There needs to be an election. There can't be. There can't be.
But how can that future even come to be when both the U.S. is unconditionally backing and the Netanyahu government, because it has so much leverage, because we're not doing anything.
It is. We are.
It is.
Blinken is saying there needs to be two states.
He hasn't done anything.
Action.
Yeah, there you go. See, this is exact. I didn't say this at the beginning of the video, but Anthony Blinken, coming out and saying, we need to push for a two-state solution. You can say it. You can say whatever you want. I can say whatever I want. They can say whatever they want. Whatever. But it's action. This is like something that they tell little kids when they're little. Actions speak louder than words. I can't believe that this is what I'm fucking sitting here reacting to right now. Why did they not kick his ass out? I would have kicked this motherfucker out so fast. He would have been gone.
One piece of action.
They convinced Netanyahu's government to do a temporary ceasefire, to release Palestinian prisoners, hostages. Those were
Why
conditions
temporary?
he was not into agreeing to, and they convinced him. Those are the things they convinced him to do. So you can yell all you want, Cenk, and you can sweat about it all you want.
Netanyahu wasn't even going to do that deal where they released their own
Yeah,
hostages.
My understanding. That's correct.
Netanyahu is such a terrorist monster. He wasn't going to release the Israeli hostages. We had to talk him into it.
No, he was
We had to talk him into releasing his own getting his hostages back. Congratulations to us. We convinced Israel to get their hostages back.
But we have to understand.
It's really, it is really amazing the way that Ben is simultaneously moving the goalpost and then also trying to spin everything that they are pushing back on and say, no, it's not this, it's that. I've never seen a better bullshit artist than Ben Gleib. Really, honestly. And I have slews of videos of me reacting to conservative shitheads that say awful shit. And he gives all of them a run for their money.
That people in Gaza are trapped there. They have no basic services, and they're just being attacked writ large. I understand.
So how do you suggest Hamas gets removed from power?
Right,
what do you suggest?
I have an idea.
No, hold on. Before I have no defense of Hamas, but I do want to understand in context how they came to be. We do know they were democratically elected.
There you go.
I'm not
There you
saying
go.
exactly. And any. Yeah,
so then, do the people have any responsibility for that? If they're
Do the Israeli people have responsibility? Are you in favor of terrorism? Are you saying because Israel's a democracy?
Yeah, he is. He literally is. Because again, you know, I'm not going to get into all of it right now, but you could literally make a case for the IDF being fucking terrorists before October 7th, okay? There is a very well-documented history of the horrible shit the IDF has done before October 7th, okay?
They're responsible for the terrorist Netanyahu, and they should be attacked.
But most people in Hamas
civilians have no responsibility. Yes, I want them to vote the right way, both in Gaza and in Israel. But if you start saying the civilians have responsibility, you're saying terrorism is okay.
Every nation bears some degree of responsibility for its leaders.
But that's what Hamas says, Ben. Be careful.
Cenk and Ben, half the population in Gaza was not even born when these folks were elected. Sure. All they've known is a world of chaos.
He says, right? Sure. Like, do you not understand what they're saying to you? I really feel like he just is either too stupid to understand, or he just doesn't give a shit and is, you know, just a straight Zionist and is literally pro IDF, pro ethnic cleansing. I honestly, I don't know now. I don't know. Which is it? Is he too fucking stupid to understand? I mean, honestly, no. He's just a Zionist. He doesn't give a shit about Palestinian lives. I don't believe Ben Gleib is too stupid to understand what they're saying to him. But he sure is doing a good job acting.
Ages and deprivation
and education that makes them want to kill Jews as well.
I don't know how much of this is education. Gaza is an open air prison, right? You wouldn't agree with that? No, I mean, it's blockaded. I mean, it was next to impossible in the times I've spent. I've been in the Sinai, so not in Israel, like full disclosure. But in the only way
you were invited in there many times.
Oh no, I was invited to Gaza.
Who cares about being there?
I've been.
We can all read. We all have eyes.
It's not about that. It's about trying to understand the situation and condition within which Palestinians are living, and trying to just sort of have some compassion for that. I'm not calling you anything. If you've noticed.
I appreciate it. Nor am I you, but I have tons of compassion for them. But I've been trying to explain forever these terms that get thrown around, despite as many times as you and I debate about this, Cenk, and you don't have an answer to this. Then the next time I'm on, you still say ethnic cleansing. It is not ethnic cleansing if the 2 million Arab Palestinians in Israel proper are treated with full rights. It is simply the existential threat coming from the government of the people in Gaza. If you
did he just I have to rewind it. Did he just say it's not ethnic cleansing if the people in Gaza are treated with human I'm sorry, hold on.
And trying to just sort of have some compassion for that. I'm not calling. I'm not calling you anything. If you've noticed.
I appreciate it. Nor am I you, but I have tons of compassion for them. But I've been trying to explain forever these terms that get thrown around, despite as many times as you and I debate about this, Cenk, and you don't have an answer to this. Then the next time I'm on, you still say ethnic cleansing. It is not ethnic cleansing if the 2 million Arab Palestinians in Israel proper are treated with full rights.
But they're not. They're not. Cenk, dude, what the fuck is going on? I feel like I'm going fucking nuts. If they are treated with basic human rights, but they're not, Ben. They aren't. He hasn't listened to a goddamn thing either of them have said to him. He has not listened to a goddamn thing Ramesh or Cenk have said.
It is simply the existential threat coming from the government of the people in Gaza. If you can't separate that, you can't ever have an intelligent conversation about it that's going to ever evolve.
Okay, hold on. He's addressing me. So, Ben, look, we've yelled at each other. We've said nasty things about each other, including in this segment. But let's be clear, okay? So when you say that it's not ethnic cleansing to drive 85% of the people of Gaza out of their home, that sounds ludicrous. You might think it sounds fine, and Israeli supporters might think, oh yeah, I got 100 talking points, and it sounds great to us. But the rest of the world, I know you don't believe me, but the rest of the world goes, that's not ethnic cleansing? What the hell's ethnic cleansing?
Well, the whole rest of the world-
If driving 85% of the people out of their homes, destroying 70% of the
collective
buildings,
punishment, right?
and now destroying the graves, which is the next story we're going to get to. So if that's not ethnic cleansing, I don't know what your definition of ethnic cleansing
It is while trying to remove Hamas, who you will admit fortifies itself in every bit of buildings. I was just
His defense seems to be okay. So Ben Gleib's answer for or response to any criticism of Israel is "but Hamas." He's literally doing like the meme "but Hamas." He's not willing to admit that it is an apartheid regime, which is something I covered in my video I made in October. He's not willing to admit that the apartheid regime is literally one of the reasons that an organization like Hamas even exists in the first place. He's not willing to concede on anything. It's not ethnic cleansing to him because look at what Hamas did, right? Israel's just defending itself. But Hamas. That's literally his entire defense, and it's so easy to see through this guy's BS.
I spoke off the record for over an hour to battalion commanders who explained that in 80% of homes they go into, there are weapons found. There are.
Oh, cool, dude. You got fed. He got fed military propaganda from the IDF, and he believed it. I spoke with two battalion leaders. I spoke to people that literally are in the IDF, a terrorist organization, and they told me that 80% of homes they enter in have weapons. I have some strong opinions about guns here in this country, but that's like, oh my God. So I guess the Americans that have guns in their homes, I don't know what percentage of households have guns here in America. I don't know the exact percentage number, but I guess, everyone that has a gun here in America, they're a terrorist, right? They're a terrorist, right? Right?
Hamas properties found there, tunnels under all kinds of homes.
Did you get to speak to Gazans who are suffering?
No, I wasn't able to get into Gaza.
Yeah, I know, because
I did go to the West Bank. I did go to the West
into
Bank.
Gaza, they would have probably killed you too.
I did go to
Those same battalion commanders would have killed you, just like they killed the Israeli hostages. And you're walking around in Gaza. Oops! I accidentally killed 24,000 people.
Does that not prove the fact that they've also killed their own people? Does that not prove that it's just the incredibly dense facts of this area? They're not. If they're so able to intentionally
it proves the exact
do it.
opposite. No, they're not even asking. They're not even asking, who are you? What are you a threat? No, just kill on. Oh, damn it! It was Israelis. We meant to murder Muslims. God damn it, we made a mistake.
I'm so happy for you that you've never been in war and never had to deal with the decision of in the moment trying to decide.
In the moment against shirtless guys, cowards, terrorists,
shirtless guys. They asked them to take their shirts off to make sure they didn't have
the Israeli
suicide belts on them.
The Israeli hostages. They had no shirts. They had a white flag, and the IDF murdered them because they thought. Oh.
And for those of you that might not know exactly what they're talking about here, I have seen the video of what they're talking about. It is absolutely horrible. If you have seen it, it's completely awful. It's terrible. It's awful.
Oh, good Muslims, let's kill them. Damn it was Jews. We didn't mean to kill you guys. We only meant to murder Muslims.
And I just visited wounded troops in a hospital in Israel, a hospital that is still treating Palestinians who are wounded as well, as they always do, because Israel actually acts with morality in what it does. And
I can't dude, this fucking clown. Israel acts in morality with what they do. 9,000 children murdered. That's real moral right there. I guess, Ben. I guess Ben thinks all the 9,000 of those children that have been murdered were Hamas, right? I guess those battalion leaders. Probably told him that, right? They tell him that.
Even when trying to take precautions going into areas, this young man was shot. Two that I spoke with, shot in both legs while his commander was murdered, sitting there in a field when they're trying to go.
Murdered. He was a commander in the battle. He died in battle.
Right.
Okay. Now is that terrorism too?
Being what?
Be killed in battle.
Is being killed in battle terrorism?
Like you're saying, he was murdered. He was killed in battle, right?
Well, Ben said murdered. Now Ben's the one who said it. And Cenk just asked him, straight up, is this what you meant by it? And he's confused. He's not even smart enough to engage in this conversation, so I don't know why the fuck they have him sitting at the desk.
Which terms are you going to use? Because you're calling him...
You said it! You said it!
on one side, so I'm going to call it murder on the other side.
No, murder is civilians. When you murder civilians, right? Not when you kill soldiers.
Sure.
Okay.
You said, but you don't. Oh my God, this dumb fucking shithead. You were the one who said his commander was murdered. You said that shit. And then Cenk pushed back on it, and you don't even understand what he's saying. God damn.
Sure. So these people are trying to stop an existential threat that has continued forever. Do you think
what about Ben? What about the threat to the Palestinians of the Israeli apartheid regime? Oh wait, he doesn't think the apartheid regime exists, so I guess that doesn't matter to him, right?
Only the Israeli people should suffer in fear forever?
No,
do you think?
Dude,
why do you laugh at that? Why do you laugh at that?
Why do you laugh at that? Because maybe because the Palestinian people were literally a very large amount of them, hundreds of thousands, were literally displaced overnight, shoved into a space that, again, you cannot put into words how densely populated, how small the Gaza Strip is compared to the population, the 2 million plus people. You cannot put into words how goddamn, just how horrible this is. You can't. And Ben says, why do you laugh at that when after he just said, should only the Israelis be the ones that are always fearing for their lives and suffering? What about the last 80 fucking years of Palestinians' lives? What about the land that they had stolen from them? This guy is such a fucking clown.
Terrorist attacks while I was there. That's okay with you to continue forever? So how does it stop?
So how does it stop? In a second, but Ramesh, you go, and then I got to tell her how it actually stops.
Look, I understand, and I understand where you're coming from, Ben. I mean, and I also don't claim to have the specific knowledge of being there, but I do think it's important we understand where Hamas came from and how these sets of actions are creating Hamases, more and more Hamases, so to speak, and the recognition that there has been a calculation made by the IDF and or the Israeli leadership that it's worth going after this densely populated area, killing now 24,000 plus people, 10,000
of which 9,000 are Hamas fighters.
Sure.
So
the calculation was
total idea of lie propaganda.
So you believe Hamas numbers? You believe terrorist numbers? But that's what you cite all the time. You cite it all the time.
Human rights
and they are using Hamas's numbers.
But either way,
according to you, no Hamas. You go like this to me during a debate.
No
Hamas has been killed. How many? None.
Guys.
I don't know. I trust the human rights
The number is 9,000.
No, it's not.
So you accept numbers from the other side, yet you don't on the other side. And you also.
I don't understand how one side is considered lies and propaganda for Ben, but everything that the IDF says is true. Everything that Israel says is true. We have to believe everything they say, but if it's not them, then that's a lie. That's propaganda.
And you also wait, hold on. Very important for the record. You also say the world agrees. The world does not agree. Jamie Raskin, who you just cited, who I had coffee with just 3 weeks ago, also, as I agree with what he's now putting.
No, Ben, you're actually wrong about that. You're actually fucking wrong about that. The world does agree, and there's a lot of crazy motherfuckers out there. I will definitely admit that there are a lot of crazy ass pro-Israel, pro-ethnic cleansing, insane Zionists that exist out there, and that's a real thing. But you're wrong, Ben. You're wrong. Okay, you're wrong about this. He says most of the world doesn't agree. Nah, they actually do, asshole.
Up to make sure that Gazans do not get displaced. He also refused to sign a ceasefire now only agreement that didn't call for the release of hostages. And the entire European Union just passed a non-binding resolution 312 to 131. That's all they can pass is non-binding. It's not their country, to make sure that a permanent ceasefire happens only with the immediate unconditional release of all hostages and Hamas surrendering. So a big part of the world agrees the only way to end this cycle of violence is for Hamas to stop, yet no one puts pressure. Nobody puts pressure on the terrorists, only on the people being attacked over and over and over again.
I just submit to you that the acts that the IDF have committed are also terrorist acts, and I also submit to you that there's been a calculation made that it's worth killing this many civilians to get this many Hamas members, whether it's your stats or Cenk's stats.
War is terrible, no doubt.
No. But the war could be stopped right now if Israel
Hamas
made
surrendered.
a decision. But what does it mean? But what does it mean for Hamas to surrender? They're never going to surrender.
It's so black and white for Ben. There's no point in even engaging with it. I don't know how Ramesh is so calm. If I was in that room with Ben, I would have been just as emotional as Cenk was, which I feel like I've had my moments in this video. I mean, Ramesh is just so fucking patient. I don't know how this man is sitting here calmly speaking to Ben when it's so fucking black and white to him. There's no nuance or whatever or conceding on any of the points, good points that him and Cenk have made. Ridiculous.
Because they've been emboldened by all the things that Israel has done.
Their people are being killed, and they have no chance to win. So why would they not surrender? Why would they not surrender?
And most countries in the world support a permanent ceasefire.
Guys, there's
and
only
the release of hostages.
Exactly. That's what I support. That's what I support. But that's what I support.
Guys, let me give you the actual.
I'm fine with all that, except I don't think the.
But he says that he supports a permanent ceasefire, but then earlier in the segment he was saying that the IDF is just defending themselves and they have a right to do that. So which is it, dumbass? Which is it? You can't have it both ways. This dude wants to fucking just. I don't even know. This is ridiculous.
Surrender thing will ever
nonsense.
happen. Like, what do we
they should be allowed to kill Israelis forever, and then Israel should be allowed
just
to
let me say what the damn answer is.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, okay. Look, guys, there's only one way that this ends. Number one, America has to put tremendous pressure on Israel. Take all the money away instantly.
Absolutely.
Number two, the Israeli people. I believe in their morality and their decency. Please, I'm begging you, Israeli people, okay? Vote Netanyahu and the right-wing government out. Put in Benny Gantz or whoever it is, and go towards a two-state solution. So now,
and again, there are videos out there, and this is just what I've seen. I mean, there are videos out there of I don't know what the word is in for people living in Israel, like their towns or whatever. I think there's a specific name, but there are videos I've seen of Jews literally attempting to push the IDF out of their village or whatever the correct term is. I don't know if that's the correct term. You know, again, this is something that, you know, a lot of people, they say it, and, you know, it might make some people upset, but it is absolutely the truth. The apartheid regime negatively impacts the Palestinians and the Israeli people. Obviously, the Palestinians, much more disproportionate impact, but, you know, that's the truth, okay? It hurts. It's hurting everyone involved except for pretty much the Israeli government, the apartheid regime itself.
Get the two-state solution so that Israel can be safe and can live in peace. The whole point of Israel was for the Jews to be safe because they've been slaughtered all across the world for time immemorial.
I agree with all that.
It was supposed to be a safe haven.
Absolutely.
So how do you do it? You get somebody, whether it's Benny Gantz or not, to go and work with the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority, at that point, putting pressure on Palestinians, not Hamas, because Hamas is never going to bend to pressure, but Palestinian Authority can. That is a reasonable way to go. You get the entire Arab world and America to put pressure on the Palestinian Authority to do a peace deal with the Israeli government. And that's the two-state solution. Then you take the Palestinian Authority and you put them in Gaza and say, hey, they just got you a state.
The problem is many Gazans don't respect the Palestinians.
I know. Hold on.
Hamas will throw them off rooftops again like they did in 2007.
I agree. Listen. No, Hamas, of course, is going to fight Palestinian Authority. That gives you a sense that maybe you could do a deal with the Palestinian Authority. And so will they try to throw them off rooftops? Of course, but that's why the Saudis, the Jordanians, the Americans all have to help the Palestinian Authority establish that authority in Gaza. And to your point, Ramesh, will they have credibility going in? No, because right now they look like they work with the occupiers in the West Bank. But if they were able to deliver a Palestinian state, then they would have the credibility to be able to do the deal.
Palestinians have the right to live in dignity, in peace, with medical care,
of course,
with
as do Israelis, of course.
Of course they do.
He always has to bring up also Israelis. He always has to say that. He could literally talk about fucking, they could say something about the 9,000 children that have been murdered, and he could say, but Hamas, or what about the Israelis? It's always, what about this? What about that?
Every human being should have that right?
Yes,
that's what we should protect.
He says, of course, but then he says, but. I mean, he didn't say it this time, but it's like every time they say something that's, you know, I think completely fucking sane and doesn't need to be said out loud. He says, well, what about this? What about that?
At all
Super last
costs,
thing.
not the killing of people.
Ben, it's not a question. I'm just saying one last thing. Okay, look, Ben, do not misinterpret all the yelling back. I'm irate over the deaths of those Palestinians and how they have greatly suffered. I was irate over October 7th, and now I'm irate over this. And yes, this is 20 times the numbers, etc. But Ben, we are not, the number one reason I'm angry at Israel is not just because they're brutalizing the Palestinians, but because they are going further away from peace and security. Because this is going to just lead to more war and more anger and more terrorism and more violence. It's never going to stop until you make a deal. And if you say, hey, they blew it in the past and we've had that debate, I got you. Today's a new day. Go to the Palestinian Authority now.
Hamas has no power or even any respect, as Ramesh said. So the problem there being, you can't make a...
He just admitted that Hamas doesn't have any power. So he's conceding on the fact that it's Israel that has the power to end this war. None of this guy's positions are coherent in any way.
Peace deal with people who aren't in power. You need to remove Hamas from power.
We never said Hamas.
But Palestinian Authority has no respect or even any standing in the polls.
Now you're being
That's true.
It could be any.
You don't want to deal there. Ben, you don't want to.
I do. But the only way this works is you remove the Netanyahu government with elections and you remove Hamas. You must do both.
Okay.
You must do both. That's why the European Union agrees with that.
Okay, yes. You guys decide what you think is realistic. We'll be right back.
Okay, and that is where that segment ended right there. I know this video was very, very long. If you made it to the end of the video, congratulations. You've watched 56 minutes almost of me ranting. I don't know how coherent it was, that clip. That segment is not something that I really enjoyed watching. Fuck Ben Gleib. Again, I'm going to say the same thing that I said in the video before. Shitty pro-Israel propaganda. Don't know why they have him on the platform. Yes, it's like a bunch of people were calling me out in the video I made before, and that wasn't the focus of the video. Cenk and Ramesh did a really great job pushing back on a bunch of Ben Gleib's bullshit. But that is where I am going to leave this video. Guys, please let me know what you thought of the TYT segment that I reacted to. Please let me know what you thought of my coverage, and, any other opinions or anything else you want to say. Please, please, please. I read every single comment that gets left for me. I can't always respond to all of them, but I read all of your guys' comments. I love hearing what you guys have to say about my videos, and I will see you guys in the next one.